Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday night pit stop. It's the Formula One Fan Show Live. I'm your host, the Governor. A chance for us all to come together, whether you're a new fan of Formula One or an experienced driver around the circuit. Just a chance to come and chat Formula One with us all. Nathan King is in the room. Good evening, Nathan. I hope you are well. Thank you for stopping by. It was a free weekend this weekend, so it's a bit of a laid-back, chilled vibe going on with the show. Some would say that's always the way, but definitely this week, only a few sort of items. Just shooting the F1 breeze. I know there's an under-23 games going opposite us. We're going opposite main event, guys, but we'll do our best. If you are listening to us back, you can, of course, find us on all good podcast platforms. We are on F1 Fan Show Live. Just put that into your search bar, and you should be able to find us. Or follow us on Twitter, etc., and we can help direct you. Right, let's bring in the contributors and let's get rolling. Let's bring in our aficionado first and foremost. He loves his intro. Here he is, Stephen Thompson. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm good. Yourself?
Very well, thank you. Very well. I will set the ticker going. For those that want to get involved, you can, of course, just ask the link and you can come and have your say. Nathan, McLaren livery was the highlight of the week. Yep, that's on the list. That's to come. Big McLaren fan is Neil, so we'll get his thoughts. But Adam, as a McLaren fan, is not happy with the Monaco livery. So we could get two different opinions, or will Neil also not be happy? But, of course, as always, how did you spend this off weekend?
I had a week off after being back at work for a grand total of about 3 weeks after 4 months off. I felt like I needed another week off. So weather was a little bit hit and miss. So, it was nice to be off for a week, but after a while I was getting a little bit bored.
Absolutely.
I ended up smashing through some F1 2020 on the PlayStation. So
I was going to say, inform the guys and girls at home of your F1 2020 campaign. How did it end in the end for you?
Heartbreak for me. I was doing my team. And I'm in my 4th season of my team, and I have George as a teammate. Everyone knows I love George. And I've been fighting with him all season, and he beat me by 10 points right at the end. Last race. Just couldn't do it. So
sounds terrible. Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
You were so heartbroken when it came to items on the agenda, as it were. You were just so lost for words. You were still too upset to even contemplate the F1 world. But you're here, and you're supping a lovely pint there. So what's in the glass before we bring in our positivity?
It's a pint of pedigree tonight. It's very, very nice. I'm enjoying it. Good man.
It's a good beer. Hock says, just a quick shout for all the help with the F1 questions on Twitter. Jordan, that's what these guys are for. You're like me. You're a brand new fan to the sport. I'm still learning. I'm still finding my way. This really is the show for you because you'll pick up a lot, because I'll ask the questions that you'll be asking at home. You'll be thinking to yourself, oh, I'm not quite sure. And Steve will tell you. We've even covered why are certain colours, certain tyre colours the way they are, haven't we?
Yeah, we have covered everything. You think you're at the tip of the iceberg.
Well, there we go. And then we have in-depth discussion like last week with the whole front and rear aerodynamic of a car and who was right and who was not right. But I'll tell you what, let's bring in the rake. There you go. That's a word, not just something you use in the garden.
Wake up to the wake up to the money, turn me right on. You look like you got dressed with no lights on. I Superman that spin like a cyclone. Fit check spin like a cyclone. Wake up to the money, turn me right on.
Yeah, but we're crap. We're not going to dominate any team.
Every time that makes me laugh. Neil, how you doing?
Good. Let's hope we won't need that next season.
Well, we may well do. We may adapt it for an F1 audience. Who knows? But how was your weekend off, my man?
Yeah, not too bad. Went a bit quick, to be honest.
Always goes too quick, doesn't it? Always comes around far too quickly. But it is race week, as Steve would shriek. Did you do anything nice at the weekend? Did you escape the house? Were you in? What were your plans over the weekend, as it were?
Mostly in. I had football Saturday. We ended up winning 10-0.
Oh, well. That's a bit of all right then, isn't it? Adam kicks us off. He's obviously a McLaren fan because he says he's a McLaren fan. That's why it's obvious. It does. He wouldn't say it if it wasn't true. As a McLaren fan, not happy with the Monaco livery. Neil,
I actually really like it. It's it has a little bit of history to it because I think it's Le Mans. They've got a McLaren the F1 that basically has the same livery on it, and
As a neutral, I liked it. Steve,
good.
I love it.
You love it. You love it.
I think to be fair, it's going to be one of the prettiest cars on the grid at Monaco. You know, Gulf have got a hell of a history and heritage in Formula One. That Gulf livery is iconic in motorsport, especially on that McLaren in Le Mans. So yeah, the only frustrating thing is it's a special one-off. You know, they should keep that because it looks so much better than their regular car.
Definitely. Well, we have one chap that disagrees.
Yeah. Why are we getting special livery? You know, so early in the season. What about this weekend then that makes it the one? Because I don't get it as a new fan, and I'll ask the question.
Well, I know McLaren have a new deal with Gulf, and it's all linked in with that. Basically, I'm not 100% convinced that McLaren like where they went with this year's livery, and I think they're testing the water and seeing where they can go with it.
Adam said it's just a Haas, Steve, with just a Haas basically, just with different colours.
I don't know. I can see maybe a couple of similarities, but I mean the good thing is this won't be trailing around at the back like the Haas.
You hope.
I really hope. But although if they want to finish behind Williams, then I'm sure I can allow that. But I don't know, I think it's absolutely incredible. I like the orange and the papaya on this year's car, but overall it's a bit disappointing because it's so similar to last year's. You know, teams like Williams, for example, have gone down an entirely different route with livery. Obviously, Haas have got their obviously Russian car. So it's a shame that McLaren stuck with what they did because they've got the potential to do so much, and now this Gulf livery really does show it.
And it will carry through to Lando and Daniel's race suits and the race team kit. It's beautiful, said Norris of the livery. I think everyone can agree with the best looking car on the grid by a very long way. Do you agree with that? Is that a slightly over the top exaggeration? Sort of best car on the grid? Best looking car on the grid?
I think he's pushing it a little bit beyond, but he drives for them, so he's going to back them to the hilt.
Of course.
He's not going to say it's hideous, is he? See, for me, my top three for this season has always been, the Williams grew on me after time. But the Williams, I think, is now incredibly pretty. The Alpine and the Aston are gorgeous, but the McLaren is now going to be right up there just for this weekend.
And Adam says, you say that about us, at least we're not as lazy as Red Bull. What's interesting about it is this is actually fan inspired because they were getting the concepts from the fans, and this is something we spoke about this summer, wasn't it, Steve, where fans were designing all different things. I think it was for Williams, or it may well have been a different team, but they've been getting these concepts in, and they've decided to go ahead and do one, and they've gone with the Gulf sort of tie-in. That's quite good for the sport, surely, because that means you'll get more artists, more designers, more concept, which can only be great for the sport moving forward if teams are starting to open themselves up about it.
I think it's really good because you see on Twitter, for example, or even Instagram, you get people who design like football kits, like that sort of thing. But there's a lot of really good designers that do it for Formula One cars. I've seen obviously designs people were doing for the Aston Martin, for Williams. McLaren, any team, and they always people have designed some incredible Red Bull liveries, but Red Bull always go back to their standard because it's the one everyone knows. And even Ferrari, there's only so much you can do with red, but they somehow managed to do it really, really well. But no one ever pays any attention to them. So it's nice to see they're bringing sort of fan involvement in and actually taking some other opinions as well. I think it's brilliant, and it's only going to be good for the sport.
I like seeing someone from Mazepin.
Martin, I believe we don't get many livery changes, or the same with crash helmet designs, mostly because they believe fans will get confused with who's in what team and who the teams are, and the same with the whole reason that the numbers are supposed to be clear and obvious, so the new fans can work out who's who.
They're not on the Mercedes though.
No.
Not obvious on the Mercedes at all.
Do you think it will fire them to their first podium since 2011? Because they've taken 15 at Monaco previously, but not any since 08. Can this livery be the one that proves the lucky charm, Steve? I won't ask Neil because it's his own team.
I'm going to say no. It's going to be a Red Bull Mercedes podium, isn't it? Of course it is.
Yeah, unless you get something catastrophic, you would think, right, Neil?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
It's the aero that does the work, not the or you've got more mechanical grip in Monaco as it's a slower circuit, but yeah, it's that does it, not the livery.
Adam's gone for a simple no.
Pretty much.
There was, according to the wheel, Turkey being dropped and an extra Austrian Grand Prix put in its place, Mr. Moles. What's all that about?
Yes, it's to do with the COVID restrictions and having to basically keep themselves away for a week or however long it is after being there. So they've knocked that one on the head and they've shuffled, haven't they? Where they've got basically the two Austrians next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the French has come forward?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the French has moved forward, and we've got a new Austrian. Compare the tracks for me, Steve. Is this good news for fans, or is this actually we're losing a good track in Turkey?
Turkey's brilliant. It's a great track layout. We had it brought back last year. It's obviously quite a reduced and different calendar last year. Turkey was back on there, and it gave us quite a memorable race. Yeah, we had Lance Stroll getting his first ever pole position in Formula One in difficult conditions. We had Lewis Hamilton absolutely wiping the floor with that race. Bottas spinning about 57 times and getting lapped by his own teammate. Just doing Bottas, really. So it's got the potential to give good races. I think replacing it with Austria, or for a second race in Austria, is okay because Austria, again, is a good track. It's old school, it's narrow, it's uphill, it's downhill. But I would rather see Turkey because it's such a good layout.
Neil, do you agree?
The same as Steve. Yeah, 100%. I was hoping that they would do a slightly different track for the second one, but I was thinking there isn't really any extra tarmac, is there? It's just the one. Yeah.
Okay.
So it will just be second one will be the same as the first, but unless it's like last season where weather intervenes or something gets so it's makes it two exciting tracks races on the trot.
Yes, we didn't see a lot of this last year, which was surprising, Steve, because obviously COVID was in its infancy to the world. Is it? I mean, we should keep an eye on moving forward for other race tracks, or is it just going to be this one? Do you feel?
I think should it stay as it is, and it should just be this one. Things are starting to ease now a little bit. I'm obviously not sure what's going on in all the other countries over there. Fingers crossed.
Is it because Turkey's quite bad there? I mean, I've not seen any news about the move, so I'm just trying to find out really what's.
I'm not too sure, but I should imagine it must be to do with that, because if there's all these now travel restrictions coming in and out of the country, it's a shame though, because Turkey was a replacement for Canada, so they've had to find a replacement for the replacement, which is a shame because you've got. I mean, Canada's brilliant and gives good racing. It's such a shame to lose that for the second year in a row because it's one of my favourites. And then to get Turkey back, which gave us such a great race last year, and then to lose that again. So 2 races in Austria. I mean, we started with a double header in Austria last year. One race was really good, that first race. The second one was a little bit hit and miss. Hopefully, like Neil said, we can have 2 exciting races. But yeah, it's a shame to lose 2 very good circuits through this.
Adam, Turkey was added to the government's red list. There we go. That's why Adam knows his onions. Steve, when do we go there? Because at some point, right, you've got to think we're going to stop improving this season's car and concentrate on next season's car and moving on to the next topic, really. But when do you think that's going to be? When do you think the teams are going to start saying, right, this season is this season, this car is this car? We stop improving and we start concentrating on next year.
You'll see different changes up and down the grid. Teams like Haas aren't developing this year's car anyway. They're putting all of their focus and resources and Mr. Mazepin's money into 2022 to try and get a head start.
Spinning.
To go, I mean, I'm sure it would look great sticking out of a wall, but, I'll let them do what they want to do. Williams Alfa Romeo, maybe sort of halfway through the season, they might start to think, right, there's not too much more we can do with this car now. This is the best we're going to hope for. We'll focus on next year, because next year, of course, you've got the big rule changes coming in, the new cars, the new regs. So that's a chance for teams like AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, Williams, Alpine as well, Aston Martin to really jump forward and try and regularly challenge for podiums, if not regular points. Mm-hmm. Teams like Mercedes and Red Bull, they're going to be locked in this championship fight all year. So I don't know if it's going to be like a who blinks first to change to 2022, unless it gets to a stage where one team thinks, you know what, we're not going to get this, and they switch. But by the looks of it, it's going to be a close fight. They've probably already split some resources into next year, so they're operating at like 50-50. Okay. So you've got half doing this team or this car, half doing next year's. So,
Neil, how do you see it playing?
It's always easier for the lower teams in general if they feel like the likes of Williams, basically, if they feel that the chance of points is pretty much gone, so they're not going to really gain any places in the constructors, they can choose to ditch this season and go again. It's for the ones up the top, the Mercedes and Red Bull. If Mercedes run away with it, that makes it easier on Red Bull just to go, yeah, sod it this season. And but if they're, as you said, locked in and they're, tussle to the end, then both teams are going to have to. They could get caught out by the others, the likes of the lower teams that can get more designs going in the new car, get some more. Basically get lucky if they can with the rules and produce something that's brilliant, while the likes of Mercedes and Red Bull are too busy concentrating on this season.
I've got a Mike Baker comment. I'll come to it in just a second, but a question to you, Neil, is there a predetermined point of the season where they've sat down in the summer, in their off season, and they've worked out by week 7 we go from 50-50 split, maybe as Steve was alluding to there, going on his basis. And we go to
the thing is, something that was brought up is the fact that they've got the they can't spend as much money as they used to be able to. The word for what it is has got away from me, but basically there's a cost cap. That's the one. So the top teams with infinite amount of money could just go, right, we'll employ these people to look at the new car, while all the ones further down the grid that don't have the money, they have to choose where their resources go. But now with a cost cap, a lot more of the teams are having to do that. You have to choose. You can't just throw infinite money at doing both. And
Mike Baker, the F1 teams can't afford to stand still as where they finish depends on how much money they get for the following year. Where are Williams, do you think in their journey then, Steve?
I wouldn't be at all surprised if they had sat down, like you sort of said there, and said pre-season, right, if we get to race 12 and we're in X position, switch to next year or put more resources into next year, because the best chance for them to score points is at the start of the year when it's a more level playing field. Because, if they think, right, okay, the best place we're going to finish is 9th. So, Haas are unlikely to beat us. So, we can switch more resources to next year. Because, they finish 9th. That's better than finishing 10th. But they probably won't want to risk it because Haas could fluke a good result. Schumacher could get an 11th place and 12th place. Who knows? It's tricky because there's so much difference between finishing 8th, 9th, 10th. Especially for those lower down teams.
Yeah, I guess if it stays tight down the back there and just a couple of points would jump you up 4 positions, then you'd want to keep progressing this car so that you could get the extra millions for being X amount of places further up.
Which must make Russell's Saturday and Sunday levels of performance being so different, sort of even worse for you, Steve, because it's like it could be so much better.
It's so painful, especially that Imola, when he was running with a chance of points all race. And it's those mistakes which will be ruined at the end of the season because, those 2-3 points, although they may have meant nothing to Bottas, they mean everything to a team like Williams. And it's so sad that 3 points means everything to that team. But that could be the difference between finishing 8th, 9th, or 10th, especially with how close it's going to be in that midfield and how close it is going to be between Williams and Haas this year. Because Mick Schumacher already seems like he's dialed that car in so well. If he's now fighting with Latifi, this might be something that Williams didn't see coming. They might have thought we've basically got a solid 9th place here because Mazepin and Schumacher aren't going to be able to do much in that car. And then suddenly Latifi's fighting with Schumacher. I mean, Mazepin's doing his own thing, a minute behind, but Schumacher and Latifi are now having a genuine battle. And that could be the difference.
Yeah, but does that just not necessarily, doesn't that just mean, Neil, that the more, Schumacher catches Latifi, the more that puts Latifi out of a seat next year? Or is Latifi safe at Williams regardless of how poor he looks compared to any rookie coming in?
I think it depends what Williams want and who they've got lined up next. If there's someone with money, because isn't that why Latifi's there? He's got a little bit of backing.
Yeah.
So it'll be who's got backing that can come into our car that could potentially
be... Do they need that, having just been taken over? Is it a different world now for them?
It's every driver is going to bring in money. But you get drivers like Mazepin, Latifi, or Stroll, who will bring in an absolute ton of money. For a team like Williams, that was always so important. A few years ago, their lineup was Lance Stroll and Sergei Sorokin, both solid, obvious pay drivers. Sergei Sorokin was touted as quite a big talent. He came in, he disappointed, he disappeared again. So for a team like Williams, those spit out like that. For a team like Williams, that now they've been taken over, they shouldn't really need as much of an investment as from these pay drivers as they did before, because they've now got the owners who are willing to spend and invest in the team. So they could go for someone like Jack Aitken, who did quite well in his race for them last year, a talented young and up and coming.
So it's huge for him. It's huge for him. Just to read out Adam's comment there for those listening back on audio platforms, I've heard Mazepin will be getting his own Netflix show. It will be Drive to Survive spin-off, which is quite good. I do like that, Adam. That's quite a good one. Talking of things that are funny, we've not had our Bottas bemoaning segment yet, so let's get the banner on the screen. Bemoaning Bottas is here. And Steve, it's a corker from Wolf this week where he says, Bottas speed is enormous. What do you make of Wolf?
He's funny. He is funny.
There's only one thing enormous about that.
What's that, Neil?
How much of a big pile of rubbish that's the comment is.
You don't think Bottas has got enormous speed then, Neil?
What, speed at getting in the car or speed with getting his overalls on?
He's a one-lap driver, isn't he? Because sometimes his qualifying performances, he'll pull something out the bag and you think, that's amazing. Where did that come from? And then in the race, he goes, yeah, I know what I've got to do. I've got to win this race. He'll disappear. He'll get overtaken by Lewis. He'll get overtaken by Max. He'll fail to defend. He'll probably end up fighting with an Alpine he can't get past. And he'll cross the line in 3rd or 4th. And he'll say, it's fine. I'll get him next week. And he'll just repeat himself then. On his day, he's a good driver. And they get those certain circuits he goes well on, like Russia. But for the other 20-odd, he's always playing second fiddle.
Sadly, yeah.
There was a poll that I ended up participating in that was questioning whether Perez or Bottas had done the better job at backing up their teammates this season. And Bottas was ahead.
Really?
I struggle to agree with that, because Bottas is in a car that really should be doing a lot better than he's getting out of it. And the fact that Perez is still getting used to his car.
Yeah, if you're going to look at the two of them, I mean, Perez, you can't expect to jump in and start winning races right away. I know drivers have with teams before, but these cars are so complex now. You can't imagine him to get in and start winning it right away. But Bottas, he knows that car inside and out. He should be up there fighting for 1st and 2nd the whole race. He should be backing up Lewis. Not backing up, but he should be as a backup to Lewis.
It's the one he started on pole, and the bare minimum for that is bring it home in first.
Yeah.
Anything less is a failure.
That was Portimao, wasn't it, in Portugal? And he offered that awful defence to Lewis, where he gave him so much room. A driver like Lewis is going to say, "Brilliant, thanks very much." And there's no fight with him.
Well, there was last week. To be fair, he didn't want to move over, and I think as we maybe go through the season, who knows what way that will unravel as the silly season takes effect for driver seats. Because
is that starting to show the end of Bottas in that team? Because that was another thing that's been mentioned. The fact that, if that hadn't have gone as it did for Lewis, and he had lost serious points because of it, that there would have been a massive team uproar. And
I think Wolf is playing him up, don't you? Like sort of, he's got great speed. It's almost like a sales pitch. Like, we're not going to have him next year, but he's still a decent driver.
Well,
blah blah blah. I
think it could be to try and G Bottas up, because it might just get some self-belief back in Bottas, so he can actually think, I have got great speed, and he can come and fight back and fight for pole and fight for a win. Because at the end of the day, if he's not performing, Perez is going to get up to speed in that Red Bull, and those Red Bulls are going to give Mercedes a serious run at the top of the championship. And they need Bottas firing on all cylinders to do that.
Absolutely. Right, Monaco this weekend. I want to kick things off with, I saw a Formula E Monaco race last night, actually it was. Ignore the sound, because it sounds absolutely like atrocious. But I've got a question for you both. New fans to the sport, fans that have never watched F1 before, do you think actually Formula E is a good place for fans to start because it's a closer, maybe at times more exhilarating race? I've not seen Monaco look as good as it did last night in an F1 with F1 cars. I'll throw that out there. They were closer. There was more. Because they were all bunched together. There was more speed. It felt like more at stake, more danger.
But the thing is, with that, I've always considered that if that is what you want from your motorsport, then really Formula One isn't for you. That's where British touring cars has it hands down. Because unlike with the Formula E, where they've actually got, say, outer bits of bodywork covering the wheels and things, they're so brittle that it's pathetic and pointless. And you've seen how clumsy they can be. That's another thing with touring cars. You can have some door-to-door crashes and they just keep on going. So you can have all of what you saw in Formula E with the crashes, and it makes no difference whatsoever.
How does it work as a starting point, though? As an entry point to getting your feet wet?
I always found I was a little bit, say, anxious, worried about it, because with the way that the world's going and having to be greener, is this actually going to take over our Formula One's position? But I don't believe it is. The way it's gone, it's entertaining, and I actually quite like it. But it'll never be Formula One to me. Formula One's the pinnacle. It pushes the boundaries, where I suppose Formula E is trying to get more out of the batteries, in which over the seasons they've had, they have at least got batteries that can last the race now. They don't have to swap cars halfway through. And it will only get better, I guess. But no, the full weekend and everything that goes on, it's Formula One for me.
Okay, quick question there, Mike. Steve, sorry, different question from Mike. Do you think the faster boys in F1 should start at the back of the grid, would make for better racing, watching them race and make their way through the pack?
I don't know. I mean, I can sort of see where you're coming from there, because it could give you a good race, especially if it is something like Monaco. You've got Hamilton starting 18th, 19th, and Bottas starting 20th. I mean, Bottas will finish there, but Hamilton will be able to charge his way through the pack. But that's going to give someone, if you had slower teams starting at the front like Alpine, Aston Martin, it could give them a decent opportunity. But I think it would lose some of the spectacle, because people want to see the fastest boys at the front,
I think you get too many instances where a car would spin out. You'd have a few laps where it was a safety car, then a few back up to speed. And I don't know. I think they're at the back for a reason. And sometimes that's car, but sort of Mazepin He could be in any car on the grid. He's just spinning every 5 minutes, Neil. The car doesn't matter really if you're not on the grid, does it?
Well, I think that sort of shows how much the car does for the driver. He practiced in an old Mercedes, didn't he? And that seems to not have helped very well because this Haas just does not have the stability that Mercedes had, and he just can't control the Haas.
Right, Monaco.
For what Steve was mentioning. Actually, no, carry on, Martin. Sorry.
No, you're absolutely fine. I was going to say, EJ Norris, Monaco is the best race of the year for him or for me, and it's usually close. How are we feeling on Monaco then? Obviously, Steve, first of all, you've got to mention, what does it mean to Williams this weekend? Come on.
It's their 750th Grand Prix.
Wow.
It is insane. It's brilliant. 750 races is phenomenal. And to have it at such a special track as well, it's the jewel in F1's crown. We haven't been there since 2019. It's usually a close race, but it's usually quite boring because unless someone puts it in the wall or it's raining or something like that, it's usually quite a quiet race where you're basically going to finish where you started. But yeah, 750 races for Williams. They're doing a special competition where you can enter to get your name put on their halo, which I obviously did. So hopefully I'll get my name on that car.
Fingers crossed. We're praying for you.
Then I can say I've been in Monaco at Williams. So in some respects. But yeah, it's fantastic. I really hope they have a good race. But it's a circuit that favours the car more than the engine power, and their car is okay. It went well at Imola, which is a bit sort of tighter and twisty, but I don't know. I think they're going to struggle.
Yeah, be great. Obviously, being the anniversary to have some points. Mike says, Neil, Monaco 9 times out of 10 for me. It's one of them boring. One of them is boring on the calendar. Great for nostalgia, terrible for racing. How do you view Monaco?
Yeah, it's pretty much that. I love the wow factor that Monaco gives you, and if they do an on the ground insight of, you've got the casinos and the yachts and pretty much everything, that side is fantastic with it. And then when you go to if you're on track side and you see how them cars are thrown through the twists and coming out of that tunnel, and it's just fantastic how close they get to the barriers, and it's awesome. But then when you come to the overtaking, and you're not going to see half of what you saw in Formula E, I'm afraid. It's going to be a bit of a procession.
So give me the 1 to 3. Who's finishing third, first of all, Mr. Moles? And Steve, will come to you next.
I think it's going to be Bottas.
Bottas, okay. Steve, who's finishing third?
Perez.
I'm going to say Lando. Second, Steve.
Lewis.
Controversial. Neil, who's finishing second?
I think it's going to be Max.
Which means Neil finishing first for you and taking the race will be
Lewis.
And for you, Mr. Baker, Mr. Thompson. Sorry, I got my Baker. What?
No, I meant Verstappen. I don't think Schumacher will quite have it.
No, it's supposed to be a more Red Bull track, but over the years, Mercedes has clawed it back and become better and better at the twisty circuits, and they've been quite dominant of late.
I just think that, like you say, years in the past, it was always a Red Bull circuit, and even in the Mercedes dominance, you could think that this Red Bull could give them a go. I think Red Bull have got such a great chassis this year; they can really give them a push. And Max is good around Monaco, so this could be his year to win it.
And the last question:
I hope that is the case because this championship needs it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How badly does it need it, Neil?
At this stage, I would say it's sort of hanging in the balance. If Lewis runs away much further, people are going to start believing that this is Lewis's again. It was a positive little, blip at the start, but nothing more than that. So just so that everyone can hang on and believe that Max is still in the fight, we need it.
Okay. Adam says Max P1, Lewis P2, Leclerc P3.
I like that.
The real question though is, what position will George Russell start Sunday's race in following qualification? And will he finish there? And if he doesn't finish there for you, will it be a better or a worse finish?
I am going to say he will start in P13.
Okay.
He's got enough to get into Q2, that we've seen, but not quite Q3 yet. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say he is going to get P10. He will score a point.
Oh, that would be great, because it's
It would
Williams'
be amazing.
big weekend. That would be great. So you reckon he's going to go better, 3 places better come Sunday evening, as it were?
Yep.
Neil, where's he going to finish qualifying, and is it going to be better or worse come Sunday?
Well, as Steve mentioned, he's good at making it into Q2 and not quite Q3. So pretty much anywhere in that bracket really for qualifying. The main thing for the race is if you hold a position, it's hard for people to get past you. So basically on that way, you could get away with 1 stops and that sort of thing. Have really, really ruined tyres at the end, and people just, they're queuing up behind you trying to get past. And for Russell, if he can somehow work himself into a points position, even on ruined tyres, doing less stops, he might just be able to get some points if he's lucky.
Okay. EJ Norris, I reckon Russell will start in 12th.
I like that.
Interesting. Right, we're done. Weekend is in the books. We will return next Monday at 7:15 for the Monaco review. Is it a week after? Where are we the week after Monaco, Mr. Thompson?
Good question. I wish I knew.
Is it a race? Is it actually a race? You're not going to say it's another free weekend, are you?
I don't know. Let me have a quick little check here.
That's right, I'm here.
Professional.
20th and 23rd is Monaco. Then 4th to the 6th of June is Azerbaijan. So
A couple of weeks.
Yeah, so that means we've got a couple of weeks to fill. I love filling a couple of weeks. Got some quizzes coming up. Big
Nice
stuff.
Love
but we're done. Steve, lead us out.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Love seeing your comments. Love seeing you all getting involved. We'll also be back on Monday at 7:15, reviewing what has hopefully been a very exciting Grand Prix, where Max has dragged the championship challenge back. Russell has scored Williams' first points in 2 years, and Bottas has done a Bottas again, and Mazepin has put it into turn 1. So, yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. We love it. And we'll see you on Monday at 7:15.
See you then.